Good morning, my friends. Here I am in Ukiah, Mendocino, in the beautiful woods with thousands of birds chirping. I'm up here at a friend's farm, putting my hands in the dirt for a few days, getting some manual labor work during COVID when my usual job is not available, and just getting to experience some earth and some plants, some nature. It's been some of the hardest work. I mean, just all day long, pure physical. My hands are just brutalized. I can't play guitar right now. It's not available. And I really expected that, being up here, I would just be working myself to the bone and be exhausted and pass out at night and sleep deeply. Um, but that has not exactly been the case. And so, in this vlog this morning, I'm going to give you a little visual into the challenge that sometimes is my existence and why this vlog is necessary. Um, the first night I was here, I was exhausted and ready for sleep 2 nights ago. And I laid down, just like, and suddenly my nervous system went and was just firing on high cylinders. It's called hyperarousal. All of my skin was on fire. My heart was beating fast. Um, my brain was freaked out, and I recognized this, of course. I was like, "Oh wow, I'm in hyperarousal. Uh-oh, okay. How can I be with this?" Um, and I started noticing that my ears really tensed up and my jaw was tense, and I was hearing at a really really intense level. And I get what's called hyperacusis in this experience, where even the tiniest little pricks are causing massive jolts through my body. And there was a little bubbling brook next to my tent, and what's considered to be the most relaxing sounds in the world were making me hear the little blip blip blips as and my body would flip out. And this brings up something that I deal with, which is this hyperacusis, this hyper hearing, which turns when my nervous system is turned on like that. I get what is called exploding head syndrome. It's been studied since the mid 1800s, and it's basically, for me, where my body and my trauma body is looking for tigers. My nervous system believes there's a tiger in my tent or in my room, and it's looking for this. Where's this tiger? Where's the tiger? And it's listening for any little thing, and it hears something, goes and this shock goes through my body, and I hear a psst in my head, and my tinnitus fires, and I hear it like a cymbal crash. And so imagine, being in a sleepy state at night and feeling that explosion. It causes um, it causes adrenaline to pump through my body and cortisol, and so once these start happening, it's really hard to make it stop. And for me, this can happen a lot. And it's one of the main challenges of my insomnia when insomnia kicks in, is this exploding head experience. And it happens right in that bardo between being awake and falling asleep. Right as I'm falling, my body's like, "Where's the tiger? Why am I falling?" And something from my early life freaks out. And this is part of what I'm working on. And I came up that first night, and I was able, even though I was in that nervous state, to haven and to reduce it, to get down to a place where I was able to read. What I do is I read something that I've already read, because that's a familiar place. So I'm reading The Never Ending Story, which is an amazing fantasy book, actually, even better than the movie. And I went back to a middle section of the book that I read, a month ago, and read that again, and that's familiar. And so when I was reading that, I was able to fall asleep, and in with red light on my headlamp, because red light turns on melatonin, and doing the havening, and that put me out. And so I woke up yesterday ready for work. Didn't have great sleep. I woke up even kind of still panicked, but at least I slept. Thank the heavens. And I I went out and worked yesterday and worked really hard. Worked all day long. We worked the entire day in the sun. It's awesome. But I noticed at the end of the day that I was still pretty aroused, energetically. My nervous system was still pretty perked up. And I was kind of like, wow, how is this possible? How can I have not worked this out by now? And um, I was thinking back through the day and the things that I had learned, because I was also listening to um, a lesson from Peter Levine and Bessel, two of the luminaries of the trauma healing realm. And these guys were talking about, ways that we can deal with pre-verbal trauma, and that's what I'm dealing with. Things that were like before you were 3. Mine's most likely crib or even womb based things, where these things got set in for me. And Bessel was saying that he thought that it's really important to be able to use creative imagination to create a state where we can see a possible future, and to use the skills we already have for finding a safe place, even a sacred place inside of ourselves, in our minds. And so I started to do that yesterday, when things were coming up. And one thing that came up yesterday is that I felt like really nervous while I was working. Like my buddy needed me to be done. Like I was late. Like I hadn't done enough, and like I wasn't working hard enough. And I was working my ass off, and which was funny. Um, so I was like, man, why do I have this way of working? And I noticed it in myself too. Like, why am I always like feeling behind and frustrated? And so I recognized that and was like, why don't I flip this script and use this very present awareness in the body to remind me to be present and um, appreciative of the work that I'm doing. So with each shovel of mulch, or compost that I was shoveling, it felt really good to shovel it. And so I would pay attention to the goodness. Like, that's an easy shovel. That felt good. Look at that. And I did that shovel. And I recognize that, like, if I can take just a split second of enjoyment every time I do something at all, that's a better feeling than feeling behind, or like I have to do this. I need to get this done to prove myself worthy of my buddy's love or of whatever. And so I just started to enjoy the work. Each pull of weed, each shovel of compost. And then I was like, I could apply this to like every email I send, or every um, thing that I put up in my work, physical or not. I can apply this, appreciating the moments, to have start setting a process in my conscious of being in enjoyment of the small aspects of life. And hopefully, if I do that over and over and over again and becomes my pattern, patterns are very important, of ways of being, then it will set into my subconscious, which would be more, an energetic, deeper level of operation where I'm operating from more naturally. Here's Kaya. We have a dog here, and that was really good. That really stoked me. Great way to realize something through the day. And additionally, when I went to sleep last night, again, I was really tired, and I woke up at like 4 a.m. and had to pee, and got out of my tent and noticed that I was really awake. And I was like, okay, I'm really awake. And I thought back to the learning again. It's like, how can I imagine this situation different and feel this situation different in my body, and I looked up at the stars, and there was no moon out. It was just billions of stars. Milky Way was rocking the sky, and I was just like, oh God, yeah, okay. So appreciation of life, feeling the good aspects of this moment is another frame I could have in this moment, and a shooting star right then and there. And I was like, okay, I wish in this moment to recognize that I can go back to sleep and love sleep. And I looked back up at the stars, appreciated how beautiful it was and how beautiful this life is. And I went back in my shift pod, and I immediately passed out and woke up this morning, which feels really good. So if you're liking these vlogs, please subscribe, and that helps me a lot. I want to get to 100 subscribers here so I can get my own personal link, and then please share with friends who might get something from this, and let me know anything in the comments which you'd want to hear about. It's mostly just kind of my journey, my adventure of this healing process, but I'm open to letting it be whatever it unfolds to be. So please let me know what you're going through, and let's be on this journey together. Much love.